Hello there and welcome to How to Make. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a fabric bag. Now I'm talking about these bag for life bags, the bags that are replacing plastic bags. This bag can be used while you go shopping for your groceries, for any kind of shopping that you would like in a high street market. So here's what you're going to need. The first thing you'll need are a big base panel made out of milk cartons and two small little plastic panels for the handle reinforcement. You will also need a big panel for the side of your bag, for the main part of your bag and the side of the bag, a panel for the base of the bag, and of course your fabric. I'm going to be using two types of fabric. I'm going to be using a leatherette fabric and a sort of linen type fabric. Also, for the end of the bag, we will need some sort of embellishment. In my case, I'm going to be using letter embellishments, self-adhesive. Okay, I've now cut out all my fabric pieces. The only thing I've done differently is with my main pattern piece, which is the side of the bag, well, the main sort of long panel bag and the side bag, I have taken my lighter fabric and I have already put a mark on my pattern piece, which is at a diagonal. I placed my pattern on top of the fabric and at the diagonal, and I've cut two pieces out. So that is going to be my little embellishment on top of the main bag. So it's now time to start sewing the bag together. Okay, so now we have our sewing machine out and ready to use. Because we're using leatherette fabric, what we don't want to be using is our basic foot, which comes with the machine, which is one of those. So what I'm using is a Teflon base foot, and you can get these from any sewing machine or fabric specialist shop. The first thing you need to do before you put your panel onto the main bag is the diagonal edge that you have, which is this edge here. You need to fold it over at the 1 centimetre seam allowance and iron that down. We're now ready to begin sewing. We now have our our panel with our accent colour fabric on top of it sewn on. We folded in the 1 centimetre seam allowance and sewn along, and I have done it at about 2 millimetres away from the edge of the fabric, nice and neat along. It doesn't matter about the frayed edges, as these last three edges are actually going to be within the seam allowance, so it doesn't matter. What we now need to do is we need to take our plastic rigid panel, which I have cut from a milk carton, which is pretty simple and easy to do, either with scissors or with a Stanley knife, and take my two base bag panels, and all I need to do now is sandwich this plastic panel within the two pieces of fabric. So I've placed the rigid plastic panel inside. I am now going to sew and seal it in. Next thing to do is to take our panels and, with the notches that we did earlier when we cut out the fabric pieces, fold back the panel and iron the panel flat so that we have a nice crisp edge to it. Okay, our next job is to sew our actual bag together, as in the two sides together with the other side of the bag. So let's go ahead and do that. We've now sewn our bag together. So let's take a look at what it looks like so far. We now have our basic bag sort of style. We've got the front and the back, and we've got our side panels done. All we need to do now is, with the sides that have just been folded, we need to fold them and stitch a 2mm line all the way down. Do the same for the other side. So we now have our basic bag outer casing. What we need to do now is put our base panel onto our actual bag. Now this, all we need to do is we take our bag and we place it within the actual size, and we have to pin all the way around. And simply stitch along the edges of the base of the bag. After you finish sewing the base of the bag to the main part of the bag, all you need to do is turn through the bag so it's the right way around. So we now have our base onto our actual bag. Next we're going to add on our wording to our bag. In this case I have chosen to put on the letters or the words "my bag". Okay, onto the actual bag, I have now put "my bag" in letters onto it, which denotes that it's my bag. So the next thing to do now is we need to finish off the top edge. We need to fold over the edge about 1 centimetre, and because it's non-frayable fabric I've used, I don't need to overlock it. So all I need to do is fold it over 1 centimetre and sew down the edges. We now have our edging done all the way around. I've used white thread on the back of it, on the front of it. So there's our bag. All we need to do now is our handles. What I've done is, with the same fabric on the bag I'm going to use for my handles, is we're using the little reinforcement things that I've done before, and we're going to have them inside the channel of the handle. We need to sew a channel which is just big enough for the reinforcement plastic to go into, and we need to turn them through. So let's go ahead and actually sew these together. And turn through. Now this could be tricky. Once you've turned through the fabric, you need to then iron it flat and insert the plastic reinforcement into the dead centre of your handle. Next you need to fix in the plastic by sewing a line down each side of the plastic to hold it in to the handle. Now it's time to fix the handle to the main part of the bag. I have placed my handle 8 centimetres in from the side of the bag, and I have stitched it with a crisscross and a square pattern, plus folding in the end of the handle so as the frayed edge is within the stitching. Repeat this for both sides of the handle and obviously the other side of the bag. Once this is done, your bag is complete. And so here we have it, the finished bag, complete with handles, sides and a bottom. There you go. A bag recycled from old fabrics made into new bag.